What's up, my friend? Abby here, and welcome back to Writer's Life Wednesdays, where we come together to help you make your story matter and make your author dreams come true. I've talked a lot about the 3-act story structure on this channel. In fact, I made an entire 13-part video series breaking down in detail every single story beat of the 3-act story structure and why it works based on brain science. But ever since I posted it, I've been getting questions from you guys asking me, how would this structure work for a series? So that's what I'm going to show you in today's video, how to take the 3-act story structure and all of its goodness and translate it into an outline for a series of books, not just one standalone novel. Okay, we're gonna cover a lot of ground in this video, so let's jump right in. Why does your story matter? Good question. What if I told you that there's a science behind every great story? I don't just teach you how to write. I teach you how to change the world with your story and make your author dreams come true. Okay, so when I say series, I'm talking about a series that has a very definite ending. Okay, so the structure I'm going to give you today is for a 3-book series or a trilogy. This video is not for you if you're writing a series that has no real ending, but instead tells a new story in each book and just goes on ad infinitum. For example, something like the Nancy Drew book series, where the protagonist has pretty much a flat character arc and just goes on a different adventure each time. So we're not going to talk about that kind of series today. We're going to talk about a series that has a very definite beginning, a very definite ending, but takes about 3 books or more to tell the whole story. The best way to look at your 3-book series is like this. The whole series is kind of like the 3-act story structure. You can imagine each book as an act, even though each book will have 3 acts inside of it. Let's give these 3 books nicknames so that we can keep track of them. Book 1 is The Inception, Book 2 is The Journey, and Book 3 is The Battle. Right now, you can probably see how this looks kind of like the 3-act story structure for just one book. Okay, protagonist is flung into a new experience, goes on a journey, wins a battle at the end. But these are separate books we're talking about, and each book is going to have its own structure, full of story beats that are designed to capture and hold your reader's attention. Now, I realize that some of this language might not suit your genre, like battle, okay? There might not be an actual physical battle in your story. You might be writing a contemporary trilogy, in which case this structure might not be for you. But don't worry, you can still adapt it to work for your story, okay? I'd recommend adapting these story beats. You can still use the story structure that I'm going to show you, but you can adapt the story beats to better suit your genre and your characters. I adapted this series structure to embody the rising action feeling of the 3-act story structure for just one book. So you have that flow of inception, journey, battle, overarching the whole series, rather than having each book be like inception, journey, battle, inception, journey, battle, inception, journey, battle over and over again. That would work for a series that just goes on forever, but for the structure of a trilogy or a 3-book series, you want to keep your reader on their toes until the very end. Again, if you're not familiar with the 3-act story structure, I would highly recommend checking out that series that I mentioned earlier. It goes super deep into each story beat, and it has converted a lot of pantsers into plotters, which just makes me very happy. Okay, back to the 3-book series. Before we dive into the structure itself, I have to emphasize one very important thing. This isn't just about outlining what happens. It's about outlining why it matters. Creating a map of your character's internal journeys is more important than creating a map of your plot. Because you can read an action-packed story without any real internal conflict or character transformations, and by the end of it, you feel like you just watched this character go on an adventure and get in a lot of trouble and survive to tell the non-riveting tale because the protagonist didn't really learn anything or have a transformation. It feels like a waste of time because it is a waste of time. It's a waste of your time because it doesn't matter to you. All that to say, this is really all about character arcs. If it doesn't matter to your characters, it doesn't matter to your readers. Every single story beat has to matter to your characters, or else it won't matter to your reader. So before you begin, ask yourself, Why do I want to write this story? What is the message or theme I want to weave into my character's journey and simultaneously teach the audience? This will be your central theme for the series and your character's ultimate aha moment. Now, you could make that like the parent theme of the whole series and then have like a child theme for each book. That's totally up to you. It all depends on how much time you want to spend on your theme. Life has a way of giving us tiny aha moments all the time that aren't really like some giant tidal wave of a realization. So if you want to give each book a different theme, go ahead. If you're having trouble nailing down your theme or your character's fatal flaw, which is the opposite of your theme, check out this video here for my easy, straightforward method to figuring this out. Now, let's take a closer look at the story structure for each book. You're going to notice that each story structure has the basic flow of the normal 3-act story structure, which is setup, conflict, confrontation. We're not going to have a resolution until the very end of the series. Okay, so let's start with book 1, the Inception. It's a lot like the standalone 3-act story structure, but the ending is different. So first we have Act 1. Hook. Show your protagonist's inner conflict, their desire versus their fear. Ask yourself, what does my protagonist think will bring them true happiness or contentment? And how is their fear stopping them from going after it? Setup. Show how the protagonist is a disaster waiting to happen. As in, protagonist is going to make a bad decision and you know it because their fear is really what's fueling their desire. Ask yourself, how can I show my reader that my protagonist is not going to make the right decision when something goes sideways? First inciting incident. Something shoves protagonist way outside their comfort zone. Ask yourself, why does this inciting incident matter to my protagonist? How does it push them outside their comfort zone? First, fear-based decision. Protagonist makes a fear-based decision to avoid the most pain in the future. Ask yourself, how is my protagonist going to respond to the inciting incident given their fear and misbelief about the world? What decision are they going to make now to avoid the most pain and get what they want while steering clear of the thing they're afraid of? First pinch point. Antagonistic force looms in the distance. Ask yourself, what is the opposition or antagonistic force that my protagonist is going to have to face head-on later? How can I show the reader that it's already looming in the distance? Act 2. Pre-midpoint reactionary hero. Protagonist starts executing on their plan. Achieve goal, avoid pain. Ask yourself, how is my protagonist going to execute their plan, achieve goal, avoid pain? What is their step-by-step plan for making this happen? Game-changing midpoint. Something upends the protagonist's plan and changes the game. Ask yourself, what unexpected thing is going to happen to upend my protagonist's plan? Why does it matter to my protagonist given their desire and fear? How is it going to change the game for my protagonist? Post-midpoint action hero. Protagonist comes up with a new plan based on the game-changing midpoint and what it means to them. Protagonist thinks their new goal is going to bring them to where they want to be while still avoiding their fear. Ask yourself, what is my protagonist's new plan going to be based on the game-changing midpoint and what it means to them? Second pinch point. Antagonistic force gets closer. Ask yourself, how can I show the opposition or antagonistic force getting closer to disrupting the protagonist's life? Act 3. Supposed victory. Protagonist makes a move they think is the solution to everything. Ask yourself, why does my protagonist think they will be victorious? What's happening that makes them feel like they're so close to achieving their goal and finding happiness at last? Disaster, or second inciting incident. This is your setup for book 2. Protagonist does what they think is right with disastrous results. It's kind of like the disaster in a standalone, but different because it won't lead the protagonist to their aha moment yet. Ask yourself, what does this disaster specifically mean for my protagonist? How does it force them to realize that they're the one to blame for this whole crisis? How does it raise the stakes for book 2? Cliffhanger. Stakes are higher than ever for the protagonist as the curtain falls on book 1. So basically, instead of giving your protagonist their aha moment at the end and having them crush their misbelief and confront their greatest fear, we're just destroying their life and leaving them in a really dodgy place. Sounds like fun, right? See, the first book in a series shouldn't have a happy ending where everything is resolved and all the loose ends are tied up, or else there wouldn't be a need for a book 2. You want to make your reader hungry for more and desperate to know what happens next. So let's look at book 2, The Journey. Act 1. Hook. Welcome to book 2. Protagonist is facing a major problem thanks to what happened at the end of book 1. Recap the problem in case it's been a while between books. Reaction to disaster. Reeling after book 1's disaster, protagonist must figure out where to go from here. Ask yourself, what is my protagonist's knee-jerk reaction to this disaster, given their fear and misbelief? How can I show my reader that the protagonist is not really responding, they're just reacting? Second, fear-based decision. Protagonist makes a decision they think is logical, reader knows it's still based off of their fear. Ask yourself, what is my protagonist going to decide to do going forward? How do I show my reader that this decision is still fear-based? Third, pinch point. Antagonistic force gets dangerously close, protagonist doesn't know how much trouble they're really in. Ask yourself, how can I show the antagonist or antagonistic force closing in on my protagonist and also show how my protagonist is oblivious to the trouble they're in? Act 2. Pre-midpoint reactionary hero. Protagonist thinks they're making progress in the right direction, but really they're walking straight into the antagonist's trap. Ask yourself, why does my protagonist think this plan is going to bring them success? How is it playing right into the plans of the antagonist? Game-changing midpoint. Something unexpected upends the protagonist's plan, or they make a shocking discovery about the true nature of something. Ask yourself, what unexpected thing is going to happen to upend my protagonist's plan? Again, why does it matter to my protagonist given their desire and fear? How is it going to change the game? Post-midpoint action hero. Protagonist comes up with a new plan based on the game-changing midpoint and what it means to them. Protagonist thinks their new goal is going to bring them to where they want to be while still avoiding their fear. Ask yourself, what is my protagonist's new plan going to be based on the game-changing midpoint and what it means to them? Conflict action. Protagonist does get closer to their goal, but not without lots of struggle thanks to their own misbelief and the antagonistic force. Ask yourself, why is my protagonist fighting so hard for victory? What is the burning desire in their heart that fuels their fight? Act 3. Small aha moment. Protagonist has a small aha moment, child theme of book 2, which allows them to take a big step in the right direction. They see how they've been wrong in some things, but not everything, and they have an idea of how to fix it. Ask yourself, what personal realization is going to dawn on my protagonist and enable them to face the climax of this book? How are they going to crush one of their fears and continue to the next story beat? First, climactic confrontation. Protagonist puts their life on the line in what they think is the final act of courage to accomplish their mission and win this whole battle, metaphorically or literally. Ask yourself, what dramatic action will my protagonist take in order to achieve their desire? How do they put their own life and happiness on the line to defeat the antagonistic force and win the war? Cliffhanger. Protagonist discovers that they actually have not won the war. In fact, they've lost something very important, and the stakes are higher than ever. Ask yourself, what is the new world-shattering problem my protagonist is going to have to face in book 3? I know some of that sounds kind of vague, but I would rather you follow the natural flow of cause and effect with your unique story than feel like you have to stick to some set of very specific, rigid rules. This template is more of a guide to help you along the path using the scientifically proven story principles that we talk about all the time. So give yourself a little bit of freedom when it comes to customizing this structure for your series. And study your favorite series to better understand what pulls you in and holds your attention. Trust yourself. Okay, book 3, The Battle. Act 1. Hook. Welcome to book 3. Protagonist is facing an even bigger problem than they were at the beginning of book 2. Recap the problem in case it's been a while between books. Build up. Protagonist figures out how to face the big conflict ahead. Ask yourself, how is my protagonist still struggling with their deeply rooted fear and misbelief as they prepare to face their greatest challenge of all? Third, fear-based decision. Protagonist and company come up with a plan to win the war or accomplish their greatest goal. Ask yourself, how can they outsmart the antagonist and accomplish their goal or win? How does protagonist try to avoid their fear even in their strategy or battle plans? Setback. The antagonistic force flexes its power, seems impossible to overcome. Ask yourself, how does the antagonistic force intimidate the protagonist and try to make them back down? What makes the antagonist seem undefeatable? Act 2. Post-setback action hero. Side characters renew the protagonist's faith in their cause. Ask yourself, how do my characters band together and renew the protagonist's hope in this cause? Why do my characters believe they can win? Rising action. Tension begins rising for the climax. Protagonist and co prepare to face their biggest challenge of all. Ask yourself, how do my characters prepare themselves mentally and physically to face the antagonistic force? Execution of plan. Protagonist and co set off to face the antagonistic force. Ask yourself, what emotions and fears do my characters struggle with as they step into the ring with the antagonistic force? Act 3. Supposed victory. Protagonist and co might actually have a chance. Disaster or supposed defeat? Oh wait, antagonistic force has the upper hand. Ask yourself, what does this disaster specifically mean for my protagonist and co? How does it completely disarm them and make them face off with their greatest fear and misbelief? Dark moment. Protagonist questions their ability to defeat the antagonistic force. All hope seems lost. Ask yourself, how does this disaster bring my protagonist to the darkest and lowest moment of their life? Aha moment. Protagonist realizes that their fear and misbelief has been the real enemy this whole time and has brought them to this moment. They have a grand finale aha moment and realize they must crush their misbelief in order to defeat the antagonistic force, win the war, get what they want. Ask yourself, how is my protagonist going to overcome their fear and continue to the climax, thus developing as a character? What lesson are they going to learn and simultaneously teach the audience? Final battle. Protagonist and co face the battle with more courage and strength than ever before. They are fearless and unshakable, grounded in truth. Ask yourself, how is my protagonist going to prove their transformation by crushing their misbelief and facing their fear with courage? Victory. Truth prevails. Protagonist wins, antagonist loses. Ask yourself, how does my protagonist defeat the antagonist? Resolution and the end. Wrap up loose ends, allude to the future. Ask yourself, how has my protagonist changed as a result of their journey? What does the future hold for protagonist and co? Okay, boom. That was a lot. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed right now, don't worry. That's totally normal. We just covered a lot of ground. But I wanted to show you the whole picture so that you can get a clear understanding of how this structure works. Now, I've compiled all of these story structures into templates for you, and they include more detail than what I read to you just now, plus of course all of the prompts, the questions to ask yourself, and you can grab those templates, that pack of templates, in the description box below. You will see the link. Again, feel free to make adjustments to this story structure to better suit your unique story. As long as you're following the natural flow of cause and effect and you're making sure every story beat matters to your characters, you really can't go wrong. Smash that like button if you liked this video, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I post writing videos and publishing videos every single Wednesday, and I would love to have you here in the community. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon, because that's where we go beyond videos and take storytelling to the next level. The Patreon community is not only the best way to support what I'm doing here on YouTube, but it's the only way to connect one-on-one with me and get better guidance on your story. So go to patreon.com/AbbyEmmons and check out all the awesome exclusive content I have over there for you. Until next week, my friend, rock on.